About a year or so ago, honestly, I forget how long it's been, but something like that, GCI showed the public their next big thing, and it was very big. They revealed what they are calling Titan Track, which is a new steel track style. They didn't explicitly say what it would be used for, but we can make a good guess that it will be used to retrack older, rough wooden coasters and also be used to create new hybrid coasters. However, RMC already has a more or less monopoly over the thrilling hybrid coaster market. They've been making their Great Iron Horse conversions since 2011 and most recently 2021. However, their reign could very well end not long after their 10-year anniversary. Today, let's discuss the question of whether or not Great Coasters International could be the new RMC. Before that though, GCI making steel track brings up another interesting question. Are wooden coasters dead? Really, the only three big manufacturers that make wooden coasters anymore are GCI, Gravity Group, and RMC. RMC has discontinued their wooden coaster though, leaving only GCI and Gravity Group to carry the torch of modern woodies. Gravity Group is going strong for now, but since GCI is starting steel track, could it be the end soon? Short answer, no, I don't really think wooden coasters will stop production within the next few years, or the next decade. After all, along with steel track, GCI also unveiled a new train style for wooden coasters. It could also be used on steel coasters, of course, but they really seemed excited about its woody use. So no, thankfully I do not expect the wooden coaster to be entirely phased out. Sorry for going down a whole rabbit hole about that, it was just something that felt important enough to talk about. Onto the main part of the video, let's start by talking about how GCI started their rise to the top of the wooden coaster industry and go from there. Great Coasters International opened their first woody at Hershey Park in 1996 under the name of Wildcat. It was a fairly unique style of ride compared to the other woodies of its time, things like Great White at Morey's Piers and Timber Terror at Silverwood. These are two woodies manufactured by CCI, a now defunct wooden coaster manufacturer, and GCI is probably a big reason of why they're defunct. CCI was and is still known for making great coasters, however, not all people agree with that. There are just as many people hating on their rides and saying they're too rough and painful as there are people loving them. GCI changed the game by replacing lateral-filled unbanked turns with snappy bank turns and sharp airtime pops. From their first coaster on, GCI continued to bring top-tier wooden coasters to all the parks that wanted one. They quickly became one of the more well-known companies in the industry, but obviously that wasn't good enough for them, because that brings us to now, where they have started to compete with yet another manufacturer. I think seeing how GCI's steel track does will be interesting. We've already seen it be used on White Lightning at Fun Spot something or other, but we haven't seen a full-blown coaster yet. We also don't know what kinds of things it can do. Will it be capable of having the same insanity as RMC's, or will it just be able to do normal wooden coaster things with a cooler and smoother twist? Only time will tell. For the sake of this video, let's assume it will be pretty much the exact same thing as what RMC currently makes. So if GCI and RMC offer the same things, why should a company be inclined to go with one over the other? There are definitely things to be said for both sides. Let's start with our main character, GCI. They've been around for a while already and have proven time and time again that they can make reliable, crowd and enthusiast-pleasing thrilling attractions. They also aren't that expensive and have a great reputation throughout a lot of chains, at least as far as I know. One of the biggest things that's good for GCI is that they have a great relationship with Cedar Fair, which is a huge deal since that's such a big chain. RMC cannot say that they are on such good terms with Cedar Fair. This factor alone gives GCI a huge edge over RMC in the hybrid coaster market. But RMC strikes back with their friend Six Flags, another massive chain. They have produced a ton of wooden coaster conversions and even a Raptor for various Six Flags parks, and it's evident that Six Flags likes these because they continually come back for more. GCI's next advantage is that they are much deeper into the industry than RMC, and they know their way around things very well. This isn't saying RMC doesn't, but they sometimes still struggle with some issues. GCI coasters are great at reliability and rarely have issues nowadays. This could of course change, but from what we know, they're doing great. Next, let's talk about pricing for both the GCI and RMC. This is tough to say for sure, so take everything about GCI here with a grain of salt. This is just because we don't really know how much their steel track will cost and how much a conversion will cost, so I'm just gonna be guessing. RMC is concrete though, so let's start with them. A large-scale conversion in America such as Steel Vengeance costs around 7.5 million United States dollars according to Coasterpedia, whereas over in Europe, a pretty small-scale conversion like Untamed costs about $15 million. Zadra, a large-scale ground-up RMC hybrid in Europe, costed about $16.2 million. These numbers really don't seem to match up to me, so if anyone is watching that can explain to me why Steel Vengeance is half the cost of Untamed, please let me know. Regardless of my confusion, these are the numbers. For GCI, a ground-up small to medium scale woody in the US like GhostRider costs about $10 million. This may seem low, but keep in mind that GhostRider is a woody and only a woody, unlike RMC's hybrids. Knowing GhostRider's price, I have no clue what a hybrid would cost. More than that for sure, probably less than Zadra. Over in Europe, yours Underdrach, which I definitely just butchered, costed $16.6 million. Keep in mind though that this coaster is actually two coasters that duel each other. They're not huge by any means, but two coasters is two coasters, and that's not a bad price in my eyes. Overall with prices, GCI is definitely cheaper with just woodies, duh, but it will be interesting to see how different the prices between RMC and GCI are when GCI uses full steel track. I suppose that'll just be a wait it out and see sort of thing. Let's move on to marketability. Frankly, no hybrid is really marketable anymore unless it breaks a record or has some super fancy element. And no Steel Vengeance. None of your records really count because most of the people writing you probably think that hybrid means you can run on gas or electricity. Really the only things to make hybrids appealing to non-enthusiasts are by saying things like, steepest drop on a coaster, that is hybrid, or most inversions on a coaster, that is made of both wood and steel. Beyond that, not many people care. I mean, they do, everyone loves a new coaster, but nobody cares about a double inverting corner stall, they just want to ride a roller. Moving on to another comparison, we've got capacity. Comparing a small GCI to a small RMC, that being GhostRider to Untamed, GhostRider has a capacity of about 850 riders per hour, and Untamed has 900. This puts RMC a bit ahead, but before going in over our heads, let's look at large scale. GCI doesn't really have a great example of a large scale coaster yet, but something like GhostRider at Knott's Berry Farm will work for this video. On RMC's side, we of course have Steel Vengeance. GhostRider, when running at its best state with 3 trains and good operations, has a capacity of 1,600 riders per hour. Based on what I've heard about how Knott's runs this coaster, I doubt that it actually hits this very often, but it is technically possible. Steel Vengeance has a capacity of 1,200 riders per hour, and as far as I know, it hits that consistently as long as it's not broken down. The only other thing I have to say about capacity is that the Raptors really struggle with this. If you're unaware of what a Raptor is, it's RMC's newest coaster model, and one that has actually become pretty popular. It's a single rail coaster with only 1 row per car, meaning the trains cannot hold many people, and that leads to the capacity suffering. The clones are especially weak, with a capacity of only 600 riders per hour. This may change as the Raptors progress more with things like Stunt Pilot at Silverwood or Jersey Devil at Six Flags Great Adventure, but for now, meh. So if RMC mostly has better capacity, then why would anyone go for GCI? That question can be answered with reliability, since RMC does have some issues with making shaky boys. The other big deciding factor I think will just be how parks and chains feel about each company. It's like I mentioned earlier, GCI has Cedar Fair and RMC has Six Flags, and the rest is a wild card. Overall, I think it will be very interesting to watch GCI progress through this new market and make more of a name for themselves in more thrilling coasters. I'm very excited to see one come to be and get on it for myself, provided that's actually a possibility for me. I'm also very excited to get on more RMCs for myself to compare them. With all of that said though, I can think of nothing else to add to this script, which means this video is coming to a close. If you could drop a like to help me beat the YouTube algorithm and subscribe if you want more videos like this, that would be very cool of you. I'll see you guys whenever the next time I decide to upload is. Goodbye.